I'm really excited about this interview today. We have Joey Chan and Jonathan Boyle, two very well-known real estate investors in northern New Jersey. Today they're going to share with us not only how they got started, but also the things that scare them the most. Let's go ahead and find out more. So I guess we could start talking about what was our aha moment when we were like, okay, well, I'm going to do real estate. You know, that's going to be my next path.
Yeah.
So I mean, you want to go ahead and start with that?
Yeah. So I started in real estate fairly early on. I bought my first house in 2008. Not my personal house, but my investment house in 2008. So I picked it up from a wholesaler back then, and I didn't even know what that was. You know, he actually bought it from a sheriff's sale, and he was looking at the house next door to my house where I actually lived at. And he was looking, and so I just came to kind of like welcome him as the neighbor. Okay. I was like, hey, and somebody actually bought the house, you know, after all these years. So I came to welcome him, and then he's like, hey, you want to buy this house? I was like, what? Do I want to buy this house? And then I spoke to my business partner. You know, we were doing construction together at the time. And I was like, hey, do you want to buy the house next door? And because we've been looking at it for a long time, but we never knew how to buy it or anything. Like we never did actual research. So he was like, the guy wants like $20,000 on top of what he bought it for. Okay. And you know, so we try to like lower the price a little bit, but he wouldn't budge. It's like, no, it's 20 or nothing. Okay. You know, so we're like, all right, we'll give him the 20. So we did it the way we did it. I didn't have the so we did it through a conventional mortgage. Okay. At that time, because I didn't know anything about hard money, never heard of it or anything like that. You know, so I did it through a conventional mortgage. Like I said, my wife had very good credit, so we used her name.
Until you screwed it up. Yeah.
Well, no, I never screwed up her credit.
Good.
But so we used her name, and then I didn't have the 10%, my 10% with my partner. So he had his 10%. And he's like, hey, I have somebody that I know that can give you the 10%. You know, so I borrowed that 10%, came in with him. So we put our 20% down. We purchased the property, and at that time, you know, 2008, the market started going down. But so the purpose for us initially was to do like a big attic level, like turn it into a mini mansion. Okay. It was a ranch. Got it. So we were going to do that, and then we decided, you know, like, because it was going towards the winter, and then not only that, we didn't really have the money. Sure. So I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. So I was like, you know what, let's just, you know, fix it up like minimally and rent it out. Okay. So that's what we did, and then you know, so we held on to it for a few years, and then when we split up, we had a really bad breakup. Okay. So then you know, we ended up selling it.
Did you make money?
No, we actually lost money because we sold it in 2011 when the market, you know, it was still kind of down at that point. You know. And
you were into it for too much? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because of the repairs.
So that was your first transaction that you ever did. Did you start immediately again after 2011, or did you have others in between?
No, so I did other things. You know, I did other businesses after. Like in 2010, I started a lumber yard. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, a lumber yard, hardware store / cabinet shop in Jersey City on Tunley Avenue. Okay. So I started that business. We actually purchased the real estate, you know, the commercial real estate. So, you know, I did do more real estate. Okay. So I did that, and then I sold it off to my partners because you know, I lost a lot of money with that too. You know,
so a lot of lessons along the way.
Yeah, a lot. And I had more before that, but you know, we're not gonna go.
See, people don't want to know, don't know about those. They just see, you know, Joey's an overnight success. Yeah.
No, definitely not. It took a long time. It took a long time, and then not only that, you know, so 2011, I had a lot of hard lessons. You know, I got audited by IRS, so I owed them a lot of money. You know, I was making good money in my contracting business. You know, I was doing, like, I was doing attic levels and all kinds of, you know, big
profitable
stuff.
Jobs.
Yeah, yeah. So I was making good money at that time.
But what lesson did you learn with that? Do you have to pay your taxes first? Is that the most thing that people forget?
Yeah, it was more of an accounting thing. Okay. Yeah, it was more of an accounting thing, the way I did the accounting. So I actually hired a good accountant, and he kind of showed me, hey, you are doing this wrong. You know, this is how you do it. Got it. You know, so that's when you're young, you don't know, and you think like, oh, I'm not doing anything illegal. You think, and then you screw up.
How did you recover?
How did I recover? So I didn't get back into real estate for a while, and because I still had my construction business, I just put my head down and focused.
Okay.
And I just kept grinding and just kept working.
Yeah.
So for all those years, I just kept working.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because Joey mentioning that we've gone extensively through that story and several other things
Yeah.
because like I know we have projects that we work together on, but then there's other separate ones where like I'm complaining about something that's going on, and then Joey's like, "That's nothing. Let's," and then it's like puts me back in perspective. Like, okay, it could definitely be a lot worse.
Absolutely, yeah. I think all our experiences mold us to become the people that we are.
Right.
You're not freaking out because of something small because you've been through much bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Jonathan? I mean, what made you catch the bug? Where did you first have your first introduction to this business?
So when I was in college, I was at Columbia University at the time. I was doing, fairly well. Like I was going the finance route and everything. Had an internship at Google for like 3 weeks in the summer, like my sophomore year.
Okay.
And I realized, like, yeah, they're great places to work, but I really don't want to work for anyone. Like I like the feeling that I don't have to necessarily wake up at a certain time to go somewhere that I don't want to be. I don't have to like work until this time. I have enough vacation days, things like that.
Yeah.
So then I looked, I like to consider myself actively lazy. So I looked at it as what's the best way I could make money where eventually I don't really have to be as actively involved. So I saw real estate. So then I found Bigger Pockets. At the time, it was like 200 and something episodes. So I listened to almost every single one of them.
Okay.
And and then I got into real estate as an agent just to get my feet wet. I actually worked with an investor. Come to find out, he was actually a wholesaler.
Okay.
And like my big aha moment when that happened was after writing a few offers for him. So we got it accepted, or we got one accepted in Maplewood. In the whole transaction, I made I think like $3K or something. The wholesaler made 10, or like 10 or 15. And then I remember Sam Cologne bought the
Sammy,
he bought the end product and he flipped it. And from the tax record and my estimates, he made somewhere around 60 to 80K.
Yeah.
So that was just the big trigger to me, like, okay, I got to start making these offers, start writing them. And mind you, at the time, I had no money, basically a college student, and the only thing I had was time. I really didn't know too much except, everything that I listened to.
Yeah.
So I kind of just wrote a few offers, got 2 accepted, but they were both short sales, so I'm like, okay, well, this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
Eventually got the short sale approved for my first one. And it's funny, I remember it. It's 378 Droleman in Belleville. It was right around the corner from where my parents' house was.
Okay.
So I got it for $155. I showed the property, the property, the scope of work, and the ARV to over 100 people. No one wanted to invest with me. And then, I don't know, I guess, when people say preparation and luck or whatever.
Opportunity.
Opportunity is considered luck or whatever. Well, I guess I got lucky because a friend of mine that I wasn't even thinking of, he sometimes would ask me to run comps for him or go check out a property for him. And, I literally made no money from working with him at that time.
Sure.
He called me out of the blue one day and, he asked me for a favor, so I did it. And then he's like, so what do you have, going on in real estate? I told him, well, I have this property under contract. He's like, oh, do you need funding? And then I'm like, I look around like, is this really happening?
Of course. So
then I said, yeah. He's like, how much? This is where I thought he was going to probably be like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, 155,000 purchase, 55 in reno, so probably all in like 230, something like that. I don't know, with closing costs, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, again, blown by it, like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, all right, when do you need to close? I told him that, oh, this is where I thought he was going to be like, oh, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, that's very reasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
So then, again, super shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out later, obviously, that he has over like 500 units in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Like he does big syndications.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like he works for like JP Morgan Chase as like a IT guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really didn't know too much.
And he dabbled in real estate.
Yeah, and he dabbled in real estate.
Wow.
But then we eventually talked out terms. Overall, it was 14 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
he did well.
yeah, yeah. Basically a 50-50 partner in
Yeah.
that sense. And also, my first project, it took 2 months to finish and then 2 months to sell. So I was in and out fairly quickly.
4 months is on the fast side.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
And you
quick.
made money.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, first deal made about 30K. And then second deal, it was so kind of lucky as well because I got the short sale approval around the time I was about to close.
Finish the other one.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So then the GC I had at that time, because my buddy couldn't pay for the next project, he was like, oh, I'll partner with you. I'll put the money down.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! It's just everything's just falling into place.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what's funny is that people don't see it that way because they think you're just lucky, but you kind of set up all the all those plays to take place because you initiated the actions. Some people don't get that far because they're so scared, they're paralyzed to make a move. You didn't have the money. You probably didn't even have a loan set up either.
Nope.
But you're like, you know what? Just
Yeah.
commit and figure it out later, like Tony Robbins says, right?
Funny thing, I didn't even have the $1,000 deposit. Like the first closing, because I never put down the deposit. No one asked me about it, so I didn't give it. At closing, like 2 days later, I get a phone call from my attorney, like, "Hey, we're still 1,000 short from this transaction."
We never caught that part.
Yeah, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry." So I figured that out and got.
That's awesome, man. I feel like that's divine intervention, man. You set yourself up and things happen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, for a year before that, I went to at least 1 or 2 networking events a week. Like built like my whole database of people who eventually saw me and knew me.
Yeah.
So then, of course, leverage social media from, the 2 projects and everything.
That's awesome because you can create a different perception on social media. Those 2 projects can turn into like in people's minds, like, oh, this guy does dozens,
Right.
Depending on what angle you shoot it from, looks like a different house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of in a sense how we met after that.
Right.
That's good, man. And so for myself, to give you a quick
Right.
background, I'm one of those rare people who actually used to fantasize about flipping houses as a kid, believe it or not, because I never owned like my family always used to rent apartment. We used to move apartment to apartment almost every year.
Okay.
My mother was like a gypsy in that sense, she just wanted to always be somewhere else. She was never happy where,
Oh, wow.
she's not really a gypsy though. But when I got the opportunity, when I turned 18, I was like, Dad, I want to go see about buying a house. And my dad took me to a real estate office from a lady that he knew, and I couldn't get a loan because it was 18. Like I didn't have any work experience. I was working as a barber. I just didn't have what they needed for me to get a loan. So I was really bummed. I was more bummed about that than like not going to college. Because I didn't go to college and I really didn't care, even though I was a really good student. It wasn't in the cards for me, and I don't want to take the conversation to a different route. But when I went to that real estate office and I got turned down, I was like, I'm going to find a way one day. So we did. Like one day my parents, my friend was in mortgages, and he helped my parents refinance the house that we finally bought in 1995. We bought a 2-family house in Rahway. And then somewhere after that, the rates got really low. So my friend was in mortgages, and he's like, you might want to talk with your parents about refinancing the house. So we did somewhere in the early, I would say 2003 maybe. We refinanced the house and we pulled out some money. We fixed the house up a little bit, but there was some money left over. So what I did at that point was I told my parents, hey, maybe we should look for an investment property. So a 4-family opened up down the road, and we bought it under my father's name and everything. I was just there to help him with all the moves. And we were renting it, but I had no experience in being a landlord.
Right.
So I would rent it anyone. I rented to someone who was such a bad tenant. Listen to this. First of all, the guy was a drug dealer. I didn't know because I didn't do a background check or anything. Right? He brought a pit bull in the house and destroyed the apartment after we had fixed it, and then we had to evict him. He was out of the apartment within like 3 or 4 months. He was gone. But on their way out, as they're moving out of this apartment, they were trying to take with them the appliances. They weren't theirs. They were trying to take the stove. They were trying to take the washer and dryer. And the funny thing about the washer and dryer is that whoever created that washer and dryer, whoever made that room, that enclosure where it was in, actually put the dryer and the washer in first and then created the room around it, because the door it wasn't even 30 inches wide. It was 28. So they gave up trying to pull the dryer out because they couldn't fit it through the door. So I just said, you know what, where do I find these people? I said, I'll never be a landlord again. This is not for me. So then we sold the house about a year later, and we made over $100,000. The market had improved that much that we made a significant profit. So ever since that day, I was like, all right, I'm hooked. I got to find a way to do this. And in 2000 and later on that year, I found I just had a passion for real estate, and I left behind my barber life, lost a lot of money in selling my business, but I just knew I wanted to be in real estate. First year for me, I was a residential real estate agent. I cut my teeth just trying to figure it out, and then later on, I would see opportunities out there, and I was like, you know what, let me try to do it, and I would do one here and then one there. But I got really serious in investing sometime around 2007 and 8 when the market kind of crashed and started to recover, because I saw so many of my clients buying homes and they were doing well. And I said, if they can do it, I can do it. I could figure out a way. So I scraped together all the money I had. My parents scraped together money they had saved in a church fund. My dad's a pastor. And we put that money together, and I guess since my dad's a pastor, the money must have been blessed or something. The first property we bought, we did well. We did really well. As a 2-family house, we flipped it. I made my dad $30K, I made my brother $30K, and I made $30K. And I was like, wow, that was a home run, right?
Yeah.
So we did another and another and another, and pretty soon my parents were able to retire, and that was the most proud day of my life, that they were able to retire. And somewhere along the lines, I became financeable. And so then I was able to get hard money loans, and I just grew a lot more in the investing space from there. And I mean, I've just been a real estate junkie. Like, if you put me in front of someone and you want to talk about like politics, I'll probably fall asleep. But you want to talk about real estate, I'll talk to you all night.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that, it energizes me. And I mean, that's my story for the most part, and constantly always learning and going to these events where you guys are. I'm always meeting new people who are doing bigger and better things, and you always have to see what's on the horizon.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I see you, you're definitely out there, in terms of either social media or actually at the space, right? We do the panel together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
It's really fun. I like it a lot, because we actually get to analyze the deals, and we kind of share with the people in the audience our vision of the property. Like, hey, this is what I would do with the property, or this is how I analyze the number,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like instead of, shooting people down, we're educating them, because there's been plenty of people that I'm like, walk away from that house. Like, don't buy that house. Lose your deposit. It's not worth it, because sometimes and I've said it on the panel, sometimes the best house you buy is the one you say no to. You just got to walk away from some properties, because you'll lose your shirt. And I've been there, man. I've lost money. I did a video once called, I did a presentation. I also recorded it. I don't know if I ever put it out, but it was how I made $100K on one flip. Wow. Right? So that's how we got everyone's attention. But I did 3 case studies: how I made $100K on a flip, how I made $100K plus on a long-term hold by cashing out, and how I lost $100K on a transaction. So, I kind of gave them all perceptions of how you can really, make money and lose money in real estate, because not every deal is going to be a winner. No. Yeah. You want to take it?
No.
No, sure.
I was trying to shut it off.
Yeah, no. But tell me about the worst experience you ever had in real estate. Like, what is the money, one that kind of drained you emotionally or financially?
Ooh, that's a good question. I really got to think about that. I don't know if you have one off the top of your head.
I don't really have one that's like really, really bad.
Have you seen one in someone else's?
Someone else?
I mean,
yeah,
I could go with probably my 3-family in Bloomfield. Just the whole process. So many different learning curves that I had to deal with. So the first thing was that the township of Bloomfield is very detail oriented when it comes to like the architectural plans, and then how the like electrical, plumbing, all those jackets are.
Yeah.
Like if one little thing isn't in place, they'll send it back, and then like by law they could review it. What is
21
it,
days.
like 21 days?
Yeah.
So it held up my project for literally 3 months.
Yeah.
So that's holding costs, and I couldn't do anything.
Nope.
So, like, and the worst part was at one point, because the last one to get approved was the electrical, I had to stop by that guy's office every single day for like a week and a half
Yeah.
to make sure that it got done. And I called him, like, at that point, he probably hated me.
Yeah.
Everyone at the office knew who I was. They're like, oh, he's just waiting for, I forget the name at this point, the electrical inspector.
Yeah.
But
you got to do it.
yeah, exactly. Then when like we went way over budget, probably a little over 30K over budget, just because it was a total gut. But we thought we could save parts of the sheetrock on like the second and third floor. We thought we could save part of the plumbing.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
No, we just had to do all new plumbing, all new electrical, new sheetrock throughout, and then of course passing the inspections with the township. Small things wouldn't pass, so we'd have to have them come back out, and of course they were so booked they'd have to be like a month out.
Yeah.
So overall the project didn't get complete until like 10 months. I was expecting like 6.
Yeah, you went way over time and over budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, like when I did so one thing I realized is I should have just done HVAC. Like
cheaper.
it would have been cheaper than putting like 3 new boilers and everything. Plus you would have had heat and central air. Plus the rents would have been higher. But like with each tenant, in a sense I got lucky because they were all at or above market rent. And they were all small units, like 600 square units for a 2-bedroom each.
Okay.
So, but when the refi came up, so I had to pay, like half a point to to my hard money lender at that time, and then the refi, it was supposed to take like 2-3 weeks. That took almost the same time as like a full doc would be, like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
So didn't have a great experience with that refi company. That was no doc and quick.
Yeah.
So just the whole experience overall was just insane. Now granted, and the appraisal came in low. For a 3-family, it came in at like 445 when all other 3 families are at like 500 and above.
Yeah.
In Bloomfield. So then my partner, he wasn't too happy. He had to keep a little bit of his money into the deal, and I had to pay him back
With the rents.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a part of the business that people don't see and don't know about. They don't hear that on those infomercials at late night TV.
Yeah.
Real estate is definitely not for the faint-hearted. We definitely have to let people know that, there's that story you're going through sounds like every story I have. It almost sounds like the story of my life. Inspectors and appraisers you have to fight with, and then the banks are taking way too long to refinance you. Sometimes you feel like you're over leveraged and you're taking from this house to pay for that house and this job to pay for that job. It's stressful. I mean, the life of an investor is not one that is for everyone. You got to have that certain caliber of inner being. How about you, Joey? What do you think?
I would probably say the biggest challenge that I had in terms of most recent real estate, right, would be one we did in Plainfield, actually. One we actually did together, and this is
East Third, right? Or are you talking about Harvey?
Actually, yeah, we had issue with both, both that we did in Plainfield, which is not too far from here. But I would probably say the one on Harvey Place. So we did one on Harvey Place, and this was a short sale transaction that we actually purchased from a friend of mine who wholesaled it to us.
Okay.
So we kind of negotiated the deal a little bit, and we didn't do enough negotiating. Just like with the architect, I just like, okay, you know, I didn't say anything like, hey, can you do better or whatever, you know, because to me the price was reasonable.
Yes.
You know, so I didn't. Sometimes you don't want to push too much. You know, if you think like, hey, the price was too much, then you do want to push back on the price a little bit.
Correct.
You know, but so in this case, you know, we did negotiate a little bit. So he took 10K off the price. He's like, hey, I can't go any more, you know, because I need to make a certain amount, you know, and we didn't know what that certain amount was, you know, and then we kept asking for the short sale approval. He hadn't gotten it yet at the time. So, but then, you know, we already committed to buying it. So the first step was we went to one of the hard money lending company that I initially went to was one that, you know, I had done a deal with already. And then we went through the whole process like 2 weeks in, and then everybody told me, hey, because it's an LLC buyout and short sale, we don't do that. You know, so we went to like Clear Skies, for example, and they're like, no, we don't do that. And then our attorney we use a lot, you know, Casey Edgar.
She figured it out.
Yeah,
Well,
she was like, no, we.
Yeah, well, she doesn't do them
She
either
doesn't
for
do
short
it.
sales.
So we had to abandon the lender, everybody that we normally use.
Yeah.
You know, so we ended up finding a different lender, you know, and then they did help us out, you know, with that process.
Worked it out.
Yeah, and then you know, but towards the end, the seller, he was getting very antsy. He's like, look, if you know, the closing date was like, let's say on the 30th. And he wanted me to close 1 day before so he could have a cushion in case I couldn't perform. Yeah. That he would just do it cash.
I get it.
He would close cash. But, you know, so we basically pushed it up to the absolute last day, like no time for him to even do anything.
But you got it done.
Yeah.
That's stressful.
I mean, we did get it done finally. It was a lot of phone calls back and forth, like midnight phone calls
with the lender.
Between the lender, because the lender kind of stalled a lot. You know, like they commit, but then they say, oh yeah, we'll do it within a week, but then it took 10 days. Yeah. You know, so it wasn't as smooth sailing as they kind of portrayed it to be. So
this isn't Alpha, guys.
No, this is not Alpha Funding. Yeah, this is not Alpha Funding.
This
is a different company. Yeah, which, you know, I don't want to name.
Yeah, no, that's better that way.
You know, and then so finally we did end up closing on the deal. And then we found out that the seller, he made, you know, in excess of $50,000, and that's after the $10,000 discount he gave us. And
oh wow, like, his assignment was $50K.
His assignment fee,
wow.
Yeah. So we were like,
no
wonder.
Yeah, no wonder you had a tough time getting financing for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were really blown away by that. Actually, the lender didn't know either until last minute. Because the way they finagled it.
They probably didn't ask for the paperwork ahead.
Yeah. Well, we tried to get it, but they didn't have the approval until a few days before the closing.
Okay.
You know. So, you know, that's why we didn't find out till a couple of days in. Yeah. You know, but then at that time we couldn't back out. You know. So we're like, all right, we'll just keep going through with it. And so that was, you know, a lot of issues.
But did you do well on that property?
We did. Not well.
Not well?
Not well. Yeah, I mean,
we didn't lose money.
We didn't actually lose money. We kind of, so in total, between the two of us, we made $12,000.
A piece?
No,
or between the between the two of you.
6 and 6.
Okay, okay.
So we didn't lose money, but we expected to make a lot more.
I could imagine, yeah.
You know?
You chalked that up to experience.
Yeah. Another issue that, like, in retrospect, when we looked at it, was the house was small, and we took away from the living room to add to the to a bathroom, a full bath, and then we also took away from the dining room to make another bedroom. And then not only that, but we didn't finish the basement. So, like, realistically, the feedback I got as the agent later was like, it's too small.
Yeah.
So, like, again, everything's a learning experience.
Exactly.
You kind of see that. Like, it's funny because our other one, we did a lot better on.
Yeah.
Like,
and we didn't expect to do as well. Like, we thought it was the opposite. We thought the other one we were going to do really bad. on, and actually we had an offer the first day we put it on the market, and
Nice.
over asking too.
Yeah. Like literally the first person who called to see it,
Yeah.
then later wrote a full ask offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens. It's a house you least expect that you do the best on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I did the creme de la creme, the crowning jewel of the houses I ever flipped was a house in Gillette. Chatham's right next door, so like if that house was in Chatham, it'd be probably $1.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
And I had it on the market for $650, completely gorgeous, renovated 2,600-foot ranch, finished basement, 3-car garage, like the works. I think this thing's gonna fly off the market. And I've been telling you, man, I sat there for like 3 or 4 months. I was starting to get really worried, and then springtime came around, ended up getting like 2 or 3 offers at the same time. But the carrying costs were killing me. I barely made any money on that house. I just walked away barely, making something on it. But it just goes to show you, it's not always the houses that you think you're gonna do well on.
Yeah.
It's the houses sometimes you least think you're gonna do well on. So I've learned that through that experience that in order to really kind of like keep your sanity, like you want to have a market that's wide. Not that small market, because I learned that those fringe areas and those high-priced homes, they don't sell that fast.
No.
And I was lucky enough to be able to sell that one when I did. So I learned a lot. But one thing I will tell you is that I was actually just thinking this last night was that we should start a Investors Anonymous group, because I feel like even though I get burned, even though I don't make money sometimes, or I get stressed out, I'm like, never again. I find myself saying, that house is good. I'm going to buy that house. I'm going to make some money. I feel like, we need to like support each other and tell no, it's okay if you don't buy the house. It's all right. It's okay. I'll walk you through it.
Or when you're dealing with an issue, it's okay.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people do come up to me, and because they know I have like pretty extensive construction background, they come up to me, they ask me a lot of questions as far as, because I noticed that a lot of people get kind of hung up on the construction part.
Yeah, I've been burned so many times, man.
Yeah, I mean, even we did on that same house. We had the electrician, so we even had a little video on it where we fired the electrician, but and then he went to the other house that we also had him on. He went there and punched holes.
Punched holes, and then he cut one of the.
Yeah, and then he cut the power line.
Yeah,
so, and then he
I was telling you, man.
I know.
He had to have, because we weren't getting power to it for some reason, and I'm like, I think he might have did it, and it's funny, for like a week, Joey and I are like going back and forth.
It's very spiteful. Yeah. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time, and I still get burned to this day. I recently got burned by a plumber again. It's like how is this even possible?
Yeah.
But the guys are out there, man. When you have some good people, just keep them busy and keep them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we try to do. We try to use the same guys over and over. But the problem with that, as everybody experiences over time, their prices go up.
Yeah, they do.
The prices go up. So it's hard to keep the same guy, because you are paying a certain rate for the guy. I understand,
Material
things
goes
go up a little bit,
Yeah.
inflation and things like that. But, when this project you do, let's say, for $3,000,
Yeah.
and then the next project, it's almost the same work, and you want $5,000 for it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we've
so
been there.
it makes it challenging.
Well, last thing I want to ask you guys is, you guys do, for my audience that's watching this, I know that we're going to be sharing this content, but for my audience that's watching this, where can he learn about your podcast and your show that you guys do, and what do you guys gear it towards?
So our show is called Newbie Real Estate Investors. So we're kind of gearing it towards newbies, and we also consider ourselves newbies as well.
I think we all are.
Yeah,
we're always learning something.
Yeah, so we're still making the same mistakes, not the same mistakes, but mistakes that other people are making as well. So we're people too. So we're not perfect.
And you talk about it.
Yeah,
we're
kind of
constantly
talk about
learning.
It,
We're talking to guests such as yourself. Like about their worst experience, like what did they do, like in that scenario, things such as that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's good that what you guys are doing, because not only are you educating the viewers and the public, but you're also branding yourselves as industry experts, because whoever you're interviewing, they might have 10 times as much experience as you guys.
Yeah.
But you automatically become the aficionado. You guys become, the guru, because you're in the same sphere as that person now. So it's quick, and people can learn that. You can quickly fast track your business and your caliber in whatever field you're in by surrounding yourself around the right people. So I'm really proud of you guys are doing that, and I encourage other people to do the same thing. get around the right people.
Yeah, definitely. I
Thank
mean,
you. And where can we find like your podcast and everything?
So our stuff we do, we're trying to push a lot of people towards YouTube, which is just Culture Estate. You can just find it on YouTube. We have our logo of the lion on there. And we do a podcast also that's available on all audio streaming services, and that's called Your Life Inspired by Success. Is that what it is? Yeah, Your Life Inspired by Success. And basically we have all types of people on there, ranging from real estate investors, successful real estate agents, and also just people who have made it in life. So it's good stuff, high quality. We haven't promoted it that much yet because we're trying to build up the library. I think right now we're like maybe 10 episodes deep, something like that. About that?
We have 10, probably about 10 to 15 more in the hole.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah, we're going to build that up pretty quickly. But hey, man, it's the way of the future because everyone is just like consuming stuff organically through others instead of paying for it. There's a lot of places that will charge you 20, 30 grand to learn, but we can all teach each other.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Like I learn from people who like have listened to our podcast, or they reach out to us and they start, like telling us about like I don't know, some form of real estate, I don't know, or some property, and then it's you always learn.
Absolutely, good.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show, and I appreciate allowing me also to share my experience with you guys for your content. Hopefully we can do more of this together. Maybe on the field next time we'll go look at a couple properties.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Look forward to
That would be great.
Thanks so much, gentlemen.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yes, thank you.
Guys, so we have Joey Chan, right?
Yes.
And Jonathan Boyle.
Yes.
Guys, go follow them on social media. You guys are on Instagram, Facebook,
Yes.
everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on all social media. I'm on Facebook as Joey Chan, Instagram as NJ House, the numerical 4, cash.
Nice.
Yeah. For me, Jonathan Boyle on Facebook. Just add me, send me a message, because honestly, there's a lot of people who always add, and then you look at it like, I have no idea who you are. But also, I'm on Instagram as Boyle Venture Group, BOYLE Group. You could also catch us on our podcast, and pretty much we're open books.
Awesome.
What about you?
I'm just
Louis?
Culture Estate everywhere. You can look up Culture Estate on Instagram, Facebook, across all major streaming platforms and media. And pretty much the stuff that we're promoting the most is YouTube because of education. So if you could, guys, go there, subscribe, hit the share, like button, all that good stuff. And also ask questions. I mean, we're here. Ask the question. Whatever it is that you guys are going through, whatever issues you even foresee for yourself, just ask them. We'll be more than glad to answer that stuff.
Yes, definitely.
For sure.
We haven't. We used to do that a lot more, like asking the audience for
Q&A?
questions.
Yeah.
So we kind of have forgotten about that. So yeah, please ask any questions you have. I'm sure myself or Louis would be more than happy to answer it. Same as with Joey.
Absolutely.
So we're all here to learn, all here to help. Because at the end of the day, who knows? You might be one of my best partners in the future.
Exactly.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Later, guys.